Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a night at the Public House. We love you, Lafayette. 200 years ago, on September 4th, 1824, General Lafayette made his way as the nation's guest to the United States, 50 years after the end of the American Revolution, to visit the country that he felt so dearly about. He was an invited guest by the nation, and he spent many time here on this tour. On September 4th, 1824, he made his way to Hartford after a very slight delay, about a day, and was brought here to, at that point, the State House, and now the Old State House, for a reception. What we would like to do is tell the story of Lafayette and that 1824 tour and his time here in Hartford. It was a very fun day. He spent about an afternoon here, and that's what we would like to share with you. This whole idea of a public house, however, is much more casual, if you can think of it that way. Public houses in the 17 and 1800s were a space where you could come and gather and talk and meet and maybe gossip and drink a little bit. So keep that in mind as this event goes on. What I'd like to do first is thank our bar for the night. Thomas Hooker Brewing Company is here with us. Please, during the event, yes, let's give them applause. A big thank you to Joe, our bartender, who will be here with us. Yes, thank our bartender. Please, while you're here for the night, think of this as a public house for real. Get up during the event. Ask questions during the talk. Really engage with each other. And feel free to grab a drink and some more snacks as the night goes on. This is a very casual kind of event, and I want you to feel like you are in your own public house. I have a few other very special thank yous for tonight. First, I'd like to thank our storytellers for the night. That is Rick Spencer and Dawn Indermuehle. They will be here telling the story of Lafayette. I would also like to thank the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History, and especially Natalie Belanger, who's in the back. They have brought over some very fun artifacts from Lafayette. And the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History was basically born out of Lafayette's tour as well. So please talk to Natalie and find out what she has brought for the night. And I'd also like to thank Michael Halbert, who you will figure out who that is in a little while, but also the First Company Governor's Foot Guard. They have a very long history of here in Connecticut, but also were attached to this 1824 event as well. So without further ado, welcome to the Public House, and we love you, Lafayette.
How happy the soldier who lives on his pay and spends half a crown on 6 pence a day. He fears neither justices, warrants, nor bums, but pays all his debts with a roll of the drum, with a rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow. And he pays all his debts with a roll of the drum. He cares not a marnady how the world goes. His king finds his quarters and money and clothes. He laughs at all sorrow whenever it comes, and rattles away with a roll of the drum, with a rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow. And he pays all his debts with a roll of the drum. The drum is his glory, his joy and delight. It leads him to pleasure as well as to fight. No girl when she hears it, though ever so glum, but packs up her tatters and follows the drum, with a rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow. And he pays all his debts with a roll of the drum. How happy the soldier who lives on his pay and spends half a crown on 6 pence a day. He fears neither justices, warrants, nor bums, but pays all his debts with a roll of the drum, with a rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow. And he pays all his debts with a roll of the drum, with a rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow. And he pays all his debts with a roll of the drum.
Thank you. That song was well known on both sides of the Atlantic during the American War for Independence. The young, dashing, daring Marquis de Lafayette may very well have known the melody, if not the lyrics.
It's reasonable to think that Lafayette was a happy soldier. As a young man, he had fulfilled his military dream and had become a legendary war hero. Years later, he returned to fanfare and celebration from a very grateful United States. I'm Rick Spencer. This is Dawn Indermuehle. We study trends and influences in American popular music from the colonial period to the present day. We love cultural historic connectivity and learn something new every time we put together a program like this one.
This year and next, we're celebrating the bicentennial of the Marquis de Lafayette's triumphant return and tour of the nation he had fought to establish. He'd left these shores after our victory in the Revolutionary War, and 45 years later was invited back to see what had become of the ideal of American independence. During his 13-month tour, he visited all 24 states and was celebrated like a contemporary rock star wherever he went. The hoopla surrounding his visit was the first great celebration of American nationalism. Commemorative items were manufactured and sold as souvenirs. Poems, instrumental music, and songs were composed in his honor, and he heard many of them when he was a celebrity guest at events on his tour. Today, we'll present our versions of songs that were known and popular during Lafayette's time here during the Revolutionary War, and then some written to commemorate his return in 1824. We'll also make connections to his life and his important historical contribution to America.
Our next selection is one of the commemorative songs from 1824. It was published in Philadelphia and was likely heard in or near that city during Lafayette's visit to the region. It was inscribed, "Intended as a testimony of respect to our early friend and brave defender, the gallant Lafayette," arranged for a military band, adopted to "Hail to the Chief," the words by Thomas Hope, Esquire. This is The Nation's Guest. Hail, hail, hail to the patriot chief, heaven granted to aid with life's peril in Washington's band. Long may the tree the heroes have planted flourish, the boast and the pride of our land. Hail to the patriot chief, heaven granted to aid with life's peril in Washington's band. Long may the tree the heroes have planted flourish, the boast and the pride of our land. Heaven send it happy dew, time still its strength renew, o'er nations to spread, over millions to grow. While every heart shall throb, liberty, the gift of God, shall blossom in splendor, in bloom ever blow. Sound, clarion sound, let fame spread the story, the brave volunteer who in youth sought our shore to aid in our cause, share Washington's glory. The guest of the nation is with us once more.
Thank you. When we began researching this presentation, we knew only that Lafayette was a French aristocrat who had made a significant contribution to our efforts to free ourselves from British rule. So it is, we think, for most Americans today who may not be widely aware of who Lafayette was and what he did to earn our nation's adoration. Here is an oversimplified rush through his life before 1824.
Lafayette was born in 1757 as Marie-Joseph Paul Yves Roche Gilbert de Motier de Lafayette. But his family and friends knew him simply as Gilbert. He was a child of nobility and lived in his family's ancestral castle. The region was populated by peasant families who gave allegiance to the Lafayette family. Young Gilbert's playmates were peasant children. It was here that he first developed respect and appreciation for all classes of society. That appreciation would become the foundation for his beliefs and efforts on behalf of equality and human rights.
Lafayette's father was a colonel in the French Grenadiers, the elite infantry, and was often away with his regiment. His mother was the daughter of an aristocratic family who traced their lineage to King Louis IX in the 1200s.
Gilbert assumed the title Marquis around the age of 2 when his father was killed in battle. His grieving mother returned to Paris, leaving him to be raised by his aunts and grandmother. And when he was 10, she sent for him to join her in Paris, where he was a very awkward, unsophisticated bumpkin in the company of nobility. 2 years later, both his mother and grandmother died, leaving him a grieving but fabulously wealthy 12-year-old heir to both families' fortunes. When Lafayette was 14, a wealthy aristocrat took him in and arranged a marriage to his own 12-year-old daughter to take place when they were both old enough.
Lafayette followed his family's military calling. At the Military Academy of Versailles, he received an excellent education, including instruction in the social graces. Gilbert was, however, an awkward dancer and was widely considered something of a graceless, laughable oaf.
He ascended to the rank of captain of a regiment of dragoons. He and his betrothed, Adrienne, married when they were 16 and 14 years old, respectively. Their first daughter was born a year later.
Adrienne was a friend of Marie Antoinette, wife of King Louis XVI, and the two couples socialized together. Lafayette really didn't take well to the courtly life that he had to live.
In 1775, Lafayette learned about the movement for independence in America. He was thrilled at the prospect of participating in such a noble cause.
In Paris, he met Connecticut lawyer Silas Deane, who was looking for engineers and supplies for the Continental Army. Deane had also started recruiting military officers and, without authority to do so, commissioned 19-year-old Lafayette as a major general in the Army. On the voyage to Philadelphia, Lafayette studied military books and English.
The Continental Congress initially refused to accept Lafayette as a true officer. When they learned that he was a genuinely wealthy marquis and willing to volunteer for the cause, they authorized his commission. Although his rank was intended as honorary, Lafayette took it very seriously, and he insisted he would only serve under George Washington himself.
Lafayette had lost his father when he was 2 years old. Washington had no children. When Washington welcomed him as a member of his military family, the two became very close, developing a familial bond. Lafayette was ambitious and lobbied for actual military responsibility. He demonstrated courage under fire and military competence during the Battle of Brandywine in September 1777, where he was shot in the leg during that battle.
Lafayette was given troops to command and continued to distinguish himself. In 1778, he returned to France to work with Benjamin Franklin and John Adams to acquire troops and supplies. He came back to America in 1780 and participated actively in the eventual defeat of Cornwallis, ending the Revolutionary War.
Lafayette returned to a hero's welcome in France. He and Adrienne increased their family, and he dedicated himself to the cause of supporting the rights of all mankind. He was ardently and actively anti-slavery and supported women's rights, religious rights, and prison reform. We'll talk more about Lafayette's interesting, tumultuous life after we present songs that were popular during his participation in our revolution.
But first, we would like very much to introduce you to our special guest of the evening. Please welcome General Lafayette.
apologize for my delay in arrival. I should explain forthwith. Dear friends, I much appreciate and thank you for your attendance this evening. I am overwhelmed with the receptions I receive all over this great country. The emotions and love of gratitude which I have been accustomed to feel on my entering this city since meeting with your delegation some days ago in New York have ever mingled with a sense of religious reverence for my return to this nation. Cradle of American, and let me hope it will hereafter be said, of universal liberty. Since my last visit to your city, I am now most agreeably surprised at the great improvements since made. To see such very fine troops as the Governor's Foot and First Company of Horse Guards under Major Hart has given me a very particular pleasure, but above all, I shall always have the profoundest sense of the cordial welcome given me here in Hartford, and I am sincerely delighted with the manner of my reception by all manner of persons. I cannot but express regret, however, that I was compelled to forego the grand illumination planned for my arrival last night on Morgan Street, Main Street, and State House Square, whereby I understand that the night was turned to day, and the scene very brilliant and impressive. With your town so beautifully lit, and the people looking about in disappointment that I had not yet arrived to witness the spectacle, I can but only offer my humblest apologies that my entourage had not made the expected progress yesterday due to the weather and an accident to my carriage while still in Massachusetts, requiring my remaining in Stafford Springs, Connecticut overnight, and permitting my arrival into Hartford until this morning. Since my arrival, I have learned that the inhabitants of Connecticut have the reputation of being litigious, and keep it is said among them a great number there of lawyers who necessarily live at their expense. But I believe that this reputation has no better foundation than that which they formerly had of allowing their youth of both sexes to live in a state of excessive familiarity before marriage, and that both of these inconveniences either no longer exist or at least are considerably diminished by the influence which time necessarily exercises upon a population daily becoming more enlightened. In returning to this country after so long a departure, in receiving such proofs of gratitude and affection wherever I go, in witnessing the prosperity of this land, a prosperity you are pleased to say I have been instrumental in promoting, I feel emotions of which no language is adequate. In meeting again my former friends, in seeing the children and grandchildren of those who were my companions in the war of the Revolution, I feel a gratification which no words can express, and I beg you to be pleased to accept and transmit to the citizens of this town and state the cordial tribute of my grateful, constant, and affectionate respect. I have ever considered it my pride and my honor that I embarked in the cause of independence in this country, and I rejoiced when I found myself again landed on the American shores. You, kind sir, the people of Hartford, and all who are assembled in this solemn place will please to accept my thanks for this expression of your attachment and receive my best wishes for your individual prosperity and happiness. In conclusion, the sight of the American shore after so long an absence, the recollection of the many respected friends and dear companions no more to be found in this land, the pleasure to recognize those who survive, the immense concourse of a free Republican population who so kindly welcomed me have excited sentiments to which no language is adequate. It is in the pride of my heart to see this nation once more and to have been one of the earliest adopted sons of America. Merci.
Well, that's something you don't see every day. As we study history, we often find ourselves asking questions like, what melodies did the founding fathers whistle around the house? What songs did they hear or even sing along with at the taverns and inns on their journeys?
It's pretty certain that they would have been the melodies and songs that were most common among all Americans. Aristocrats would have been exposed to classically influenced music, but they would also have been familiar with common and even earthy songs. We can easily imagine a tipsy Ben Franklin singing a bawdy song with the lads at the local tap room. Our next songs are documented as having been popular among Americans around the time of the Revolution. Later, we'll move forward to 1824.
Our next song was originally known as The Jolly Fellow, or Come, Landlord, Fill the Flowing Bowl. Scholars date some versions to the mid-17th century. There are references to it being a particular favorite of British soldiers during the American Revolution, and it continues to be popular today in some places. We need to, in the interest of historical accuracy, tell you that it is entirely anachronistic for us to be presenting this or any song on the banjo. The banjo, as we know it, was in its infancy and not a popular instrument during the period that we're representing, but we like the banjo. If you don't, you're not going to take to the theremin or electric guitar that we're going to bring on later. Three jolly coachmen, nope. Let's do it in the right key.
That'd be good, thank you.
Three jolly coachmen sat in an English tavern.
Three jolly coachmen sat in an English tavern,
and they decided,
to have another flagon.
Landlord, fill the flowing bowl until it doth run over.
Landlord, fill the flowing bowl until it doth run over.
For tonight we'll merry be,
For tonight we'll merry be, for tonight we'll merry be. Tomorrow we'll be sober.
Here's to the man drinks water pure and goes to bed quite sober.
Here's to the man drinks water pure and goes to bed quite sober. He falls as the leaves do fall, falls as the leaves do fall, falls as the leaves do fall.
He'll die before October. Here's to the man who drinks dark ale and goes to bed quite mellow.
Here's to the man who drinks dark ale and goes to bed quite mellow. He lives as he ought to live, lives as he ought to live, lives as he ought to live.
He'll die a jolly good fellow. Here's to the maid who steals a kiss and runs to tell her mother.
Here's to the maid who steals a kiss and runs to tell her mother. She's a foolish, foolish thing. She's a foolish, foolish thing. She's a foolish, foolish thing.
She will not get another. But here's to the maid who steals a kiss and stays to steal another.
Here's to the maid who steals a kiss and stays to steal another. She's a boon to all mankind. She's a boon to all mankind. She's a boon to all mankind.
For she'll soon be a mother. Landlord, fill the flowing bowl until it doth run over.
Landlord, fill the flowing bowl until it doth run over. For tonight we'll merry be, for tonight we'll merry be, for tonight we'll merry be. Tomorrow we'll be sober. Thank you. The American colonies were primarily agrarian. Songs that celebrated the farmer and farm life were common. This one, called The Farmer, or Godspeed the Plow, can be traced to around 1780.
Come each jolly fellow that seeks to be mellow, attend unto me and sit easy. For a pint when it's quiet, my lads, let us try it. Dull thinking can drive a man crazy. I have land, I have bowers, I have fruit, I have flowers. And the lark is my morning alarmer. So be jolly, boys, now. Here's Godspeed the plow. Long life and success to the farmer. Draw near to my table, my lads, when you're able. Let me hear not one word of complaining. For the tinkling of glasses all music surpasses. And I love to see bottles a-draining. For here I am king, I can dance, drink, and sing. Let no man appear as a stranger, and show me the ass that refuses a glass, and I'll treat him to hay in a manger. I have land, I have bowers, I have fruit, I have flowers. And the lark is my morning alarmer. So be jolly, boys, now. Here's Godspeed the plow. Long life and success to the farmer. Let the wealthy and great move in splendor and state. I envy them not, I declare it. For I eat my own ham, my own chicken and lamb. I shear my own fleece and I wear it. By plowing and sowing, by reaping and mowing, King Nature affords me a plenty. I have a cellar well stored, and a bountiful board, and a garden affords every dainty. I have land, I have bowers, I have fruit, I have flowers, and the lark is my morning alarmer. So be jolly, boys, now. Here's Godspeed the plow. Long life and success to the farmer. Thank you. The song Barbara Allen was mentioned in Samuel Pepys' diary in 1666. It tells the story, the legend of how the rose came to have thorns. Lafayette may very well have known one of the many versions of the song. It continued to be very common throughout the 18th and 19th centuries. In Scarlet Town, where I was born, there was a fair maid dwelling, made every youth cry well a day. Her name was Barbara Allen. All in the merry month of May, when green buds they were swelling, young William Grove on his deathbed lay, for love of Barbara Allen. He sent his servant to her door, to the place where she was dwelling. Haste ye come to my master's call, if your name be Barbara Allen. So slowly, slowly got she up, and slowly she drew nigh him, and all she said when there she came, young man, I think you're dying. Don't you remember the other night when we were in the tavern? You drank a toast to the ladies there, but slighted Barbara Allen. He turned his face unto the wall,
and death was drawing nigh him.
Goodbye, goodbye to dear friends all. Be kind to Barbara Allen.
When he was dead and laid in grave, she heard the death bell knelling, and every note did seem to say, "Oh, cruel Barbara Allen." Oh, mother, mother, make my bed, make it soft and narrow. Sweet William died for love of me, and I shall die of sorrow. They buried her in the old churchyard. Sweet William's grave was nigh hers, and from his grave grew a red, red rose, and from hers grew a briar. They grew and grew up the old church spire, till they could grow no higher, and there they twined in a true love knot, the red rose and the briar.
Thank you. Oh, here's that pesky banjo again.
Yep.
There is scholarly disagreement about when many of the verses of the next song were written. We know that this was a very popular melody. Lafayette undoubtedly heard it, could hardly have avoided it. The melody that we recognize as Yankee Doodle was in place by 1750. Tradition says that in 1755, a British doctor named Richard Shuckburgh wrote lyrics mocking, can you imagine?
No.
And portraying the colonists as rude, crude, and cowardly.
Thank goodness that has all changed.
In the song, Shuckburgh referred to the Americans as both doodles
Country hicks,
and dandies.
conceited jerks. Rather than being insulted, we embraced the song, which continues to be popular today. Since 1978, Yankee Doodle has been the official song of the state of Connecticut. This may actually be one of those melodies that the Founding Fathers whistled around the house.
This chorus, unlike so many of the songs that we're presenting, this is the chorus that you know. Please sing with us. We're tired of listening to ourselves. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. Father and I went down to camp along with Captain Gooding. There we saw the men and boys as thick as hasty pudding. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. And there we saw 1,000 men as rich as Squire David, and what they wasted every day I wish it had been saved. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. And there was Captain Washington and gentle folks about him. They say he's grown so tarnal proud he will not ride without 'em. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. The troopers too would gallop up and fire right in our faces. It scared me almost half to death to see them run such races. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. But I can't tell you half I saw, they kept up such a smother. So I took my hat off, made a bow, and scampered home to mother. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy.
Now prepare yourself for a bummer.
More of a bummer than Barbara Allen? Come on.
Oh, much more.
You think so?
Yes. In my opinion, yes.
We'll fight about this later.
Yes, we will.
The human fascination with crime and punishment was as ardent in the 1700s as it is today. Our next song is about the notorious Scots-born privateer and pirate William Kidd. His exploits were well known, and by the end of the 1600s, he was a hunted man. Kidd was captured, turned over to authorities in Boston, transported to London, and executed on May 23rd, 1701.
A broadside ballad describing the life and death of Captain Kidd surfaced almost immediately. It may even have been available for purchase on the day of his execution. Some versions of this very popular song include dozens of verses. The music for this version may be a variant of a melody that was first made note of in Scotland in the middle of the 1500s. It's been used as the music for dozens of different songs, including the American hymn, Wondrous Love.
My name was Captain Kidd as I sailed, as I sailed.
My name was Captain Kidd as I sailed.
My name was Captain
Kidd. God's laws I did forbid. Most wickedly I did as I sailed, as I sailed. Most wickedly I did as I sailed.
My father taught me well
As I sailed, as I sailed. My father taught me well as I sailed. My father taught me well to shun the gates of hell, and yet I did rebel as I sailed, as I sailed, and yet I did rebel as I sailed.
I spied 3 ships from Spain
As I sailed, as I sailed, I spied 3 ships from Spain as I sailed. I spied 3 ships from Spain and fired on them amain, till all their crews were slain as I sailed, as I sailed, till all their crews were slain as I sailed.
I had 80 bars of gold
As I sailed, as I sailed, I had 80 bars of gold as I sailed. I had 80 bars of gold and riches uncontrolled, and dollars in my hold as I sailed, as I sailed, and dollars in my hold as I sailed.
Then I murdered William Moore
As I sailed, as I sailed, I murdered William Moore as I sailed. I murdered William Moore and left him in his gore, not many leagues from shore. As I sailed, as I sailed, not many leagues from shore. As I sailed.
To execution dock
I must go, I must go. To execution dock I must go. To execution dock, while thousands round me flock to see me on the block. I must go, I must go. To see me on the block, I must go.
My name was Captain Kidd
As I sailed, as I sailed, my name was Captain Kidd as I sailed. My name was Captain Kidd, God's laws I did forbid. To execution dock I must go, I must go. To execution dock I must go. Really, who wouldn't want dozens of verses about murder and mayhem?
After Lafayette's return to France following the Revolution, his life took some notable turns. In 1789, he was elected to the National Assembly. With Thomas Jefferson's assistance, he wrote the draft for the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen, a document expressing ideas that helped inspire the French Revolution.
France was in a period of extreme financial difficulty. In an attempt To mitigate the situation, taxes were increased on the common people. But nobility did not pay taxes. So peasants starved while the nobility lived in notorious luxury.
The French Revolution began with the storming of the Bastille in July 1789. Lafayette was appointed by King Louis XVI to lead the National Guard and establish order. When the king was forced from the throne, Lafayette, who had previously been viewed as a populist hero, was suddenly seen as a traitor to the revolutionary cause.
He and his family were ordered under arrest. Adrienne was imprisoned in France. Her mother, grandmother, and sister were guillotined. Their son, George Washington de Lafayette, was sent to America to be raised by George and Martha Washington. Lafayette left France hoping to get to a Dutch port. His journey led him into territory controlled by Austria, with whom France was at war. Because he was French, Lafayette was taken prisoner. He was held in Prussia, then Austria. In October 1795, Adrienne and their daughters were allowed to join Lafayette in the Austrian prison. In 1797, Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Austria and was able to free the Lafayette family. After 5 years of imprisonment, they returned to France and were reunited with their son, Georges. Lafayette resumed his work on behalf of the rights of all people.
Then, in early 1824, the 67-year-old Lafayette was invited by President Monroe and Congress to visit the United States as an honored guest of the nation. Lafayette, his son, and his personal secretary, Auguste Lavasseur, left Le Havre on July 12, 1824. They arrived in Staten Island on August 15th. Their tour took them to a surprising number of locations.
They journeyed over 6,000 miles, visiting all 24 states, traveling by coach, horse, canal barge, and steamboat. Everywhere he went, Lafayette received a hero's welcome with balls, dinners, banquets, parades, speeches, and firework displays given in his honor. Not a day passed over the 387-day journey without some sort of celebration to salute the great man. A special effort was made in each town to bring forth the living veterans of the Revolutionary War to greet the general.
For 13 months, as he traveled through the country, Lafayette was greeted and celebrated as a hero who had assisted the nation he loved in our time of need. In many of the places he visited, music that had been composed in his honor was performed. We'll present some of those commemorative songs now. The sheet music to our next song was inscribed, "A New Patriotic Song," written by W.B. Tappan, adapted to a celebrated air by F. Fest, Philadelphia, 1824. The song may have been heard during Lafayette's visit to Philadelphia on September 28th that year. This is Lafayette's Welcome.
Oh, welcome, warrior, to the soil that gives a brave a bed, whose harvest yields the ample soil of blood for freedom shed. And welcome, welcome to the shore thy youthful footsteps fondly pressed, where free-born millions proudly join to hail the nation's guest. Huzzah, 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 to hail the nation's guest. O beauteous maids, your garlands fling around the hero's brow. Ye hoary veterans, hither bring the heart's full tribute now. Let kings their diadems cast down, and nobles shrink to nothing yet. True glory, honor, gem the name of gallant Lafayette. Huzzah, 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 to gallant Lafayette. Oh, welcome, Father, name alone dearer than titles we. Thy children give thee homage known, where freemen greet the free. Here, patriot, shield thy hoary head, beneath the oak thou helpst to rear. Welcome, deliverer, champion, friend, Lafayette, welcome here. Huzzah, 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 Lafayette, welcome here. Huzzah, 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 Lafayette, welcome here.
Thank you so much. So it's Very likely that these songs have not been heard in 200 years. They were written to commemorate a 13-month visit that had very significant but temporary interest. Some of the music may have been revived when news of Lafayette's death arrived in 1834, but we found no evidence to suggest that these songs had any life beyond 1825. What we hear in these songs appears to be the product of enthusiastic but sometimes clumsy amateur poets and composers. Typical of American writing and composition of the early 19th century, the language and music are eloquent, flowery, formal, and often bombastic.
Archaic terms and allegory are common in the songs. In several, our struggling young nation is likened to a tree planted by Washington and Lafayette and sustained by heaven.
It's nearly impossible to exaggerate the esteem America had for Lafayette. His return was the most widespread and exciting example of American nationalism up to its time. It revived interest in the events of the Revolution.
Songs were not the only commemorative items created to celebrate the tour. Glassware, ceramics, fabrics, clocks, printed material, and souvenirs of all sorts, many with images of Lafayette, were manufactured and marketed.
Our next song is The Champion of Freedom. The sheet music is inscribed, written by Miss Eliza L. Henning. That's significant because Eliza was a woman. A female songwriter? Heavens, no. Arranged for the pianoforte by C. Meineke, the air by D. Judah Esquire of Richmond.
Who comes from the gay blooming land of the vine? The proud bark wafts him over the deep tide, while the stars in our banner right over him shine, as it floats in its glory and pride. 'Tis the hero of days we can never forget. 'Tis the champion of freedom, the brave Lafayette. 'Tis the hero of days we can never forget. 'Tis the champion of freedom, the brave Lafayette. Why pours the loud cannon its thunderous peal? Why stream the gay flags on the gale? Why sounds the glad trumpet? Why glitters the steel as in swiftness approaches that sail? 'Tis the proud joy of freemen exultingly met to welcome their champion, the brave Lafayette. 'Tis the proud joy of freemen exultingly met to welcome their champion, the brave Lafayette. The veteran who stood in the fight by his side, though the locks of his youth have gone hoary, and darts the bright glance of a young hero's pride, while his bosom again burns with glory, as he points to the fields he can never forget, where he battled for freedom with brave Lafayette. As he points to the fields he can never forget, where he battled for freedom with brave Lafayette. Oh, would that the chieftain, the foremost in fame, the friend in adversity tried, could join in the voice of a nation's acclaim with the veterans who press to thy side. But the foe none can conquer, the hero has met, and his grave shall now drink of the tear of Fayette. But the foe none can conquer, the hero has met, and his grave shall now drink of the tear of Fayette.
Thank you. The image of Lafayette weeping onto Washington's grave is sublimely representative of the kind of imagery our early 19th century poets and lyricists adored.
The tour of America was as grueling as it was celebratory. At a time when travel was difficult, slow, and uncomfortable, Lafayette and his entourage maintained an itinerary that would tax a modern traveler. During his 2 visits to New England alone, Lafayette made more than 170 stops in 31 days. After their arrival on Staten Island, they spent 4 days in New York City, then headed north into Connecticut. The journey took them into Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and back into Massachusetts before they returned to Connecticut.
Lafayette visited 28 Connecticut towns in 1824, including Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Westport, Fairfield, Bridgeport, Stratford, Milford, New Haven,
East Haven, Branford, Guilford, Madison, Clinton, Westbrook, Old Saybrook, Old Lyme, East Lyme, New London, Norwich, Jewett City,
Plainfield, Stafford Springs, Tolland, Vernon, Hartford, Cromwell, and Middletown.
I'm exhausted.
I am too.
During his visit, Lafayette eventually visited every state in the Union. The grateful nation made numerous gifts to Lafayette, including land grants and money allocated by Congress. He counted among his loyal fans a number of elegant and attentive ladies. He received gifts ranging from swords to Native American artifacts to a black bear, which was sent to France and became the first of its kind to be displayed in a French zoo.
Many streets, cities, towns, and squares across the United States are named after Lafayette. Most of those names are a result of the farewell tour.
We mentioned that Lafayette had distinguished himself and received a serious wound at the Battle of Brandywine, Pennsylvania. When he returned there, the following song was presented by a Dr. Darlington. The lyrics were published after the event in the National Intelligencer of Washington. The melody is still very familiar. Should days of trial be forgot, although those days have fled, can we neglect the sacred spot where patriot heroes bled? By Brandywine's enchanting stream, our swains in peace abode, until the tyrant's minions came to stain its banks with blood. To meet the foeman on the plain, each patriot onward pressed, and there with Washington and Wayne came gallant Lafayette. Those anxious days of old lang syne we never can forget, when with our sires to Brandywine came gallant Lafayette. And there he bore him in the van where Washington still led, and to sustain the rights of man the youthful warrior bled. Then long as our romantic stream shall roll its silver wave, its veils shall echo with the name of Lafayette the brave. For all those days of old lang syne we never can forget, when with our sires to Brandywine came gallant Lafayette. There was reference in that song to Anthony Wayne, a Pennsylvania hero, founding father, and military man who earned the nickname Mad Anthony. During the Revolution, Wayne County, Pennsylvania is named for him.
We've been there.
And now, the First Company Governor's Foot Guards.
General Lafayette, on behalf of the veterans of the American Revolutionary War, we are honored to present this to you.
I know them well. I wound this sash around my leg at the Battle of Brandywine. Accept my warmest thanks for this testimony of your affection and the manner in which these have been maintained. I return them again to you. Keep these in remembrance of me.
Thank you, General.
I did not expect that at all. That is an actual exchange that occurred 200 years ago today. The sash and the epaulets of Lafayette were returned to him, having been kept by the family of the officer to whom he gave those items at the site, the officer who saved him from the battle. So I will return the attention to the very talented musicians, and if you don't mind, I will sit down, and if you have any questions you would like to ask me, I'd be happy to respond to them in kind.
One, two, up. Right shoulder, pause.
We have just a couple more songs to present for you today, and then we would be delighted to speak with you, answer any questions about what we've said or the songs, and of course, to give you the opportunity to visit with the General. Our next song is called Washington's Favorite, The Brave Lafayette. The sheet music is inscribed, written by a gentleman of this city to a favorite air, arranged with a chorus in 3 parts. It was published in Baltimore, where Francis Scott Key had written the poem, The Defense of Fort McHenry, to fit a popular melody of the day. Rise, sons of Columbia, to welcome the brave who once with our sires for your freedom contended. Rise to welcome the hero who comes over the wave to visit the land he so nobly defended. The age hath come o'er him, and manhood's bright prime hath yielded at last to the inroads of time. No child of Columbia can ever forget her Washington's favorite, the brave Lafayette. No child of Columbia can ever forget her Washington's favorite, the brave Lafayette. When Americans rose in the pride of their might and vowed they'd be free as their God had intended, whose voice was then heard mid the clamor of fight, whose cry with the war cry of freemen was blended. 'Twas the hero whose order was always advance, the brave volunteer, the young peer of France. Then close to her favorite's fair liberty sent the name of our hero, the brave Lafayette.
Then close to her favorites fair liberty set. The name of our hero, the brave Lafayette. Our fathers have gone to the rest of the brave, where freedom is pure and all trial is ended. With joy they'll behold Columbia's flag wave, the hero to greet who their country defended. Let the hills of the north give back the glad sound, through the broad Alleghenies the broad cry rebound. Thou art welcome, love stranger, let echo repeat. The friend of our Washington, the brave Lafayette. Thou art welcome, love stranger, let echo repeat. The friend of our Washington, the brave Lafayette.
Thank you.
We've sourced our music and information from several locations, including the Lester Levy Sheet Music Collection at Johns Hopkins University, the Marquis de Lafayette Collection at Lafayette College, the Kennedy Center, the Gilder Lehrman Institute, and many others. Much of our information came from the Connecticut Lafayette Trail website, LafayetteCTTrail.org, which is a very informative resource.
We have one more song to present for you today. We thank you very much for spending time with us.
We have recordings available for purchase or download. If you would like to be informed where you might find
Or avoid.
our programs in the future, you can sign up for our monthly email newsletter or take a brochure or business card.
After his tour of the United States, Lafayette returned to his home, La Grange, outside of Paris, where he lived with his children and grandchildren. He continued to defend democratic ideals until his death in 1834 at the age of 76. He's buried in Paris beside his wife Adrienne, who had died in 1807.
At his funeral, Lafayette's son, George Washington de Lafayette, covered the grave with soil he had shipped from Bunker Hill. Our final song, Requiem for Lafayette, was written in 1834 by Miss H.F. Gould, music by Oliver Shaw. Thank you again for joining us today. General, thank you. He's
Gone to his home like a well-ripened sheaf, the ear in its fullness and sear in the leaf. The angels have borne him with joy to the skies. The portals of heaven have closed on their prize. The portals of heaven have closed on their prize. He's gone like the sun at the dying of day, when shades veil the earth as his light fades away. In greatness he rose, and in glory he shone, till claimed by the world while the world was his own. Till claimed by the world while the world was his own. He's gone like the waters in brightness that flow, while verdure and flowers clothe their banks as they go. Till forth to the deep in their grandeur they roll. He's gone to the ocean, the home of the soul. He's gone to the ocean, the home of the soul. gone, and the nations in sackcloth are dressed. They pour out their tears from the place of his rest. But none like Columbia lingers to weep, the friend of her youth with his fathers asleep. The friend of her youth with his fathers asleep. He watched o'er her childhood, he saw her young form arise in its beauty mid darkness and storm. Her sighs like an orphan's are heavily drawn, while speaks the cold marble, he's gone, he is gone. While speaks the cold marble, he's gone, he is gone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I don't know about you, but I need a drink.
We should thank Nicole for having us, Paul, yeah, the old State House, Paul, who's working on video stuff, Cody?
Lighting.
Cody, and anyone else who's up there that I didn't get to meet. And thanks for everyone who put out this great spread and the booze. Have a great night. Thanks for coming.
Emperor had a better requiem than I just heard. It's the first time I've heard it, actually.
Thank you, everyone, for attending our event tonight, Night at the Public House. We love you, Lafayette. I have missed a part during my introduction, but the idea of the title tonight, We Love You, Lafayette, actually came from the artifacts that are in the back with Natalie tonight. While Lafayette arrived here at the now old State House, but State House, there were people wearing these ribbons that said, "We love you, Lafayette," in French. I am not going to try. I will butcher it. But in that spirit, please take one of the bookmarks on the table. They are inspired by those ribbons, so please, they are just here for tonight, and they will disappear forever into our books that we have here at the old State House that we read. But also, please feel free to take a flyer, connect with us, talk to us afterwards. Lafayette will be here for a little while, but what I would like to do is please help me thank Rick and Dawn for their performance tonight. And Hooker Brewing and Joe for being our wonderful bartender. He will be here serving for maybe another minute or 2 or 5. We'll see. I would also love to thank the First Company Governor's Foot Guard, who I have a very special attachment to. They used to basically live in this building back in the 1700s. Their stuff would just get stored in what is now our office. So it used to just be a crawl space. So thank you to the First Company Governor's Foot Guard. Thank you, Lafayette. I will refer to you for that as now. And again, thank you, Natalie, please, for bringing some artifacts over, that special touch to our event tonight. Yes, please, thank you, Natalie. Please grab another snack, stay and ask questions. I would be a terrible museum employee if I did not say, please grab a bookmark, but take the survey on the back. Again, please feel free to connect with us, and I hope you enjoyed your night. And also, please join us for some other Lafayette 200 events. It's Lafayette 200 for another little while. So there are other events going on, and you can check out their website, Lafayette200ct.org. So thank you all so much. Oh, sorry. Lafayette200.org. I'm so sorry. Yes. We're in the long haul of Lafayette. Yes. So Fairfield this weekend and Wethersfield, I believe. So enjoy Lafayette. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much.